What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Weekend Roundup. Before I jump in, want to say real quick, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content I put out every single week. All right, starting in the Premier League, gonna go quickly through this because I want to talk MLS and NWSL. But we did have a very interesting game between Manchester United and Chelsea I want to touch on for a minute here. Again, Manchester United, fantastic. Coming off of a really good performance against Spurs, I was really curious to see what they were going to do in this game, and they showed up in a big way. So much so that Graham Potter, before halftime, basically admitted, I got this all wrong, pulled Marc Cucurella off the field to go reorganize his midfield because Chelsea just had nothing going on. And I was somewhat surprised that Graham Potter wanted to put Cucurella and Ben Chilwell out there together because they do a lot of the same things. Whereas Reece James, to me, is a much more logical player to play in a back three. He just gives you something different. He's not based in possession. He crosses the ball. He's more of a physical presence. I have no issue with Reece James playing right center back. And I know a lot of this had to do with injuries. This was not Graham Potter's first choice. I just found it strange, and it didn't work. So, Manchester United forced Chelsea into a change before halftime. But it is Chelsea, ultimately, who get the opening goal. That is a penalty all day long. If that is not a penalty, what is? I mean, I understand there was some stuff going on before Scott McTominay just dragged Broya to the ground. The problem McTominay has is there was no, when the actual foul was being committed, there was no back and forth. There was no kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It was just McTominay grabbing Broya from behind. It's a stone cold penalty. Right? It's one thing if you get into a little bit of a shoving match with somebody and it continues as the corner's going on. This is not that at all. This is just tackling somebody inside the box. And I've heard some of the either call it all the time or don't call it at all. First of all, refs can't control what other referees do. Second, I would love referees to start calling this stuff more and clean up some of this nonsense that goes on inside the box. I've talked about this before. That is a penalty all day long. But Manchester United find a way. It looks like they're going to have this disappointing loss in a game they played really well in. But Casemiro comes to the rescue. Terrific header to get a point. Is it exactly what Manchester United wanted based on their performance? No. Chelsea, this is a game you're looking at beforehand. You should expect to get 3 points from if you want to be somewhere in this title conversation, in the top 4 conversation. But ultimately, if based on what happened, if you're both teams, you got to come away happy. You still got a point on the road against Chelsea if you're Manchester United, and you played really well. You're continuing to build. It's not going to be perfect every week. There are still going to be games where they can't score because that offense is not a finished product. And it's what's still keeping me from really jumping on board with this team is, close to being a title contender in the Premier League. You got to be more consistent in attack. And I just don't think they are right now. Some games it's going to go in, some games it's not. But they're continuing to make progress. And on the Chelsea side, you probably should have come away with 0 points and you got 1. So you got to take that as well. Other thing I want to mention from the Premier League really quickly, that was another concerning performance from Arsenal. It's one of the things I've been so impressed with Arsenal this season. They lost to Manchester United. They were good. Maybe not great, but they were good. It's not always perfect, but they have been incredibly consistent throughout their performances. They have not looked bad very often. And now you go from Leeds to this against Southampton. I'm not as worried about the drop points. I'm more worried about what it looks like. Because you got to keep this up for 38 games. they're going now. The flip side to this is okay. They're going to be bad stretches. They still took 4 points from these two games, and that is valid. If they can bounce back and start playing much better before the World Cup break over these last couple games before everything shuts down, then I will really start buying them as title contenders. There's a difference between they can win the title. We have to talk about them as a title contender and believing they can truly go and do it, if that makes sense. To me, this is still Manchester City's to lose, and it's because that kind of thing can happen to Arsenal. They will not keep pace with Manchester City if that becomes a trend. They've got to clean this up, and they got to clean this up fast, and then they're still in a good position. But that's two games where they didn't look like themselves. They have been good about bouncing back, but it was something that they really struggled with last season. So let's see how they deal with kind of this, I guess, second setback, if you will. These back-to-back bad performances, which is something you haven't seen from them this season. On to MLS. Going to talk about the weekend games here. I will talk about everything in the number one seeds that advanced on the Touchline Talk Show Wednesday to set the stage for the conference finals. But the two games over the weekend. NYCFC get past Montreal. NYCFC get their early goal, allows them to sit back and play defense, absorb pressure. Montreal created all kinds of chances, chance after chance, and couldn't convert them. Some of it was unlucky, some of it was poor execution. And this is what I was talking about with this Montreal team heading into the postseason. Two things. One, you need to show me you can win multiple games at home because you weren't very good at home this season for a team that was among the favorites in this league heading into the postseason. A team a lot of people liked, a team that was playing really well. They lost at home. And number two, do you have the difference makers that are going to get you over the hump and be the guys who deliver in those decisive moments? The system can allow you to, and again, Montreal is a very good roster top to bottom. The system and those players can allow you to create chances, especially when NYCFC, has to pull Maxime Chanot because of an injury, is sort of readjusting things, goes to a 4 at the back rather than a 3. All kinds of opportunities and circumstances allowed Montreal to create these chances and have the better of the overall play by a mile. The difference is NYCFC doesn't need 5, 6, 7 good chances. They created a couple and they took them. Because even though you don't have a Tati Castellanos, you have enough high-quality attacking players playing well right now that you've got what you need from a difference maker and, in those decisive moments. Whether it's Pereira, Hebert, Maxi Morales, Santiago Rodriguez, you can go down the list. They have all been really, really good in the postseason. And so they don't need all of these chances. They take their Sean Johnson comes up big. I know he had a bad moment on the goal that Montreal did score at the very end. But the individual talent won out, and that is what happens in the postseason. You need everybody to. This was the problem with the 2020 Philadelphia Union. Jim Curtin kept saying, we need all 11 guys to show up and play well. We're in trouble if that doesn't happen. And Montreal falls into that same category. You got to get good performances across the board, or a team like NYCFC that knows how to do this, that just doesn't lose on the road in the postseason somehow, and has the guys who can punish you for that one mistake, take advantage of that one opportunity that's presented. That's the difference in the playoffs. It's why I just didn't see Montreal winning this game or getting deep into the playoffs. Their roster, the entire approach is not built to win in the playoffs. NYCFC are, and they proved it last season, and I still have reservations about whether they can repeat, but in this kind of game, they have exactly the kind of players you want, and it showed on the field. Then Austin and Dallas, instead of actually going behind in this game like in the regular season, Austin jump out to a 2-goal lead. And this Austin team, I feel much, much better about when they have a lead. There are teams that I feel, LAFC, for example, I feel fine about when they're behind. Not that they're all, of course, every team is in a better position when you have a lead. But it doesn't concern me if they give up an early goal, give up a strange goal. You saw it in El Tráfico. They have the ability to just kind of turn the switch on and go get the goals they need. It's one of the things that makes them special. To me, Austin is much more about being able to be in control of the situation. Because they got through against RSL, but it was not pretty. And they wasted a bunch of chances and just didn't have... I mean, it was a bunch of shots. It was a bunch of XG because they completely dominated the game. Because they were, trailing by 2 at home and then up a man for a while. But there was never this sense of inevitability for me that those goals are coming. LAFC can, much like Liverpool, right, where there are these stretches. Manchester City does this too. They're so dominant that you just get to a point where you feel like there's no way you can keep them out. As good as Austin is, that is not them. You look at their expected goal difference. It's not pretty. But you put them in a position where they have this lead to play with. They can be in transition more. They can hold on to the ball. Or they can also, sit back and absorb some pressure. They don't have to go searching for a goal. I feel much more comfortable about Austin in that sense. I really think this game goes differently if Dallas gets the first goal. It's one of the things I talked about before. And then, Dallas, to their credit, they do get back in the game. They get their goal and force Brad Stuber into a terrific save at the end to hold on to that lead. But ultimately, it is Austin who prevail. So your conference finals are 1-3 in the East, NYCFC at Philadelphia Union, and 1-2, Austin at LAFC in the West. Again, I will go in depth on these on the Touchline Talk Show Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. NWSL. We have our final. Kansas City Current, 5 seed at 2 seed Portland Thorns. I first want to take a minute to acknowledge how incredibly competitive this league is. From I believe it was 7 points separating your Shield-winning OL Reign from the final team that made the postseason in Chicago to what we saw in these first couple rounds of the playoffs. Right, so 4 teams have been eliminated. Alex Morgan knocks out the Red Stars in extra time. Current knock out Houston in stoppage time. Then you go to the semifinals. Portland takes out San Diego in stoppage time. So 3 of your 4 teams that have been eliminated lost in extra time or stoppage time. And the other one was the number 1 overall seed. And I'll get to that game in a second. But I'm going to go back to Portland Thorns, San Diego Wave first. Taylor Korniak gets a goal that I will never understand exactly how that happened. It was a complete breakdown defensively from Portland. Nobody was pressuring the ball, so Alex Morgan was able to get her head up and pick out a cross. And Taylor Korniak, to her credit, did a very good job of just continuing to move and sort of continuing to just scooch a little bit and stay active. And so she found this gaping hole between the center backs and nobody was marking her. And you give those 2 players that kind of opportunity right outside the box and then, the ability to cross into the box, yeah, that's going in the back of the net. But the Thorns recover. Rocky Rodriguez scores the goal of her career, a terrific equalizer, which sets the stage for you look like you're going to extra time, maybe a shootout, except Crystal Dunn says, no, I've got this. Another outstanding goal. What a story, what a moment for her, for the Thorns, coming back from having her son. I've seen some stuff she's just talking about. I just want to kind of enjoy this. I'm not trying to put any expectations on myself as I'm getting back into the swing of things. You know, she came off the bench. It's not like she's playing 90 minutes every game at this point because she's just now getting back into, game fitness. Just trying to, both national team and club wise, just trying to help enjoy everything. But she comes up with a huge goal to send her team to the final, and they will be hosting that final because the Kansas City Current went into Seattle and knocked out OL Reign in the only game so far this postseason that was decided by multiple goals, which is just wild. Two of the things I talked about before this game. Can Kansas City at least quiet the crowd? Can you get that first goal? Can you take the home field advantage out of this for a Reign team that had the entire city of Seattle? I mean, it was a terrific crowd. To have a chance to pull off an upset like that, you've got to be able to take the crowd out of the game. Bingo. They do it. Take an early lead. And then the second part. CeCe Kaiser, Kristen Hamilton. You're not going to get many chances. OL Reign dominated this game. Jess Fishlock hit the woodwork. You saw a lot of Megan Rapinoe and a lot of Jess Fishlock on the ball. That is not good for anybody playing that team. It's not like Kansas City was terrific defensively and just limited what OL Reign was trying to do. So you're going to get limited opportunities. With that solid defense and that kind of attacking talent, you got to take them. Much like that NYCFC Montreal game. Do you have the players capable of capitalizing in those few moments you're going to get? Kristen Hamilton delivers. Gets a goal kind of out of nothing on the counter. It's 2-0. And Kansas City is able to hold on. I was stunned. I'll go that far. It is, of course, the one game and all of that. I just really thought, Reign were going to do this and going to do this pretty easily. And they're going home. Congratulations, Kansas City. What a strange season from, what they hoped this roster would look like to what this roster did look like to where they were and where they ended because they struggled a little bit at the end of the regular season and dropped in the standings. It looked like for a while they were going to get that home playoff game and they ended up 5th. Congratulations to those players. I mean, you look at the names that are going home from OL Reign, from San Diego Wave, from Chicago. Kansas City Current are going to play for a title. It is an incredible story. Congratulations to them. It's why you play the games. You got to give yourself a chance. They got that early goal, and it changes everything. And now all of a sudden, OL Reign have this pressure because they have to score. And you do have a goalkeeper, and Adi Franch, who is capable of keeping you in one of these games and sort of being the difference. And she came up huge on a couple occasions. And so there you have it. Kansas City, Portland for the NWSL final. Really looking forward to this one. That just the margins in this league are so slim. It's incredible. There is no other league I can think of that is comparable in terms of how tight all these teams are. I mean, like I said, 3 of the teams knocked out in extra time or stoppage time. I can sit here and tell you why every single team that's gotten eliminated is going to be looking at this and saying that could have been us. And they're right. It's just sometimes you catch a break. Sometimes the break goes against you. Sometimes you have that one game where you just can't put the ball in the back of the net. That's what happened to OL Reign. And so here we are. Kansas City, Portland, Saturday night prime time. I will have a match report, so be on the lookout for that. That's all I've got for this weekend roundup. Again, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.